you spend a lot of time criticizing social justice activism.
Yes.
But you used to be yourself a social justice activist. Why don't you talk to me how you got involved with that and actually what that means to you?
Well, I would say I still am a social justice activist. I would just say I'm a different type. I'm coming at it from a different angle, and that's not an identity-based angle like, how we're all split into what color skin we have or what sex we are or our gender identity or any of that. I see people as more individuals who have common values regardless of, what group we fit into. And I advocate for truth and justice and all the other values I stand for and many others stand for, and less about, separating us and more about what common values.
Well, to be more precise then, would you say it would be accurate to call yourself, you were a left-wing social justice activist?
Yeah, I'd say quite far left. I still in many ways identify as being on the left and align with the left in more ways than with the right, actually. But it's just that the left has changed, I believe, and many people seem to agree with me. So,
okay, well, talk to me about that. So let's get into specifics. So progressive, actually, maybe that is a better word to use, because there seems to be a difference between progressive and liberal. But then some progressives are more liberal than other progressives, and then some liberals are conservative. But I always break them up as it's conservative, liberal, progressive, which might be a weird way of breaking it up. But why don't we just, let's backtrack, go to the beginning of your activist days. How would you sort of identify yourself back then?
Well, yeah, it all started when I was 14, 15, possibly even 13, and was getting really into thinking about philosophy. I didn't know that it was called philosophy at the time, but I grew up in a pretty, well-educated family, I suppose, and we had these discussions around the dinner table, and I started looking for discourse online, and I was on Tumblr, and, Twitter wasn't really, I don't think it existed at the time, but there was a lot of discourse on Tumblr, and what teenagers, of course, being teenagers, were talking about was far left political issues like communism, Marxism, Marxist feminism, that led me into veganism, patriarchy, all of these concepts that as a 15-year-old girl, entering into womanhood and going through puberty and starting, to have sex and meet men and all these things, it's a very confusing time and a time of change and flux. And I think these sort of militant ideas provided me with answers, and I just thought that was the answer to everything.
What was so attractive about these far left ideas for you at the time initially?
Well, yeah, as I was saying, that it was a weird period, and I think a lot of teenagers, go through this time of change and transition from being a child to being an adult, and understanding the sort of dark parts of humanity in the world. And it's shocking, that men and women are treated differently, or that little girls are treated differently as they get older and become women. Why is that the case? Well, because there's a patriarchy, and that's the answer to it. It's simply that men are, power-hungry people who will abuse women. Oh, okay, done. That, it seemed very simple to me, and it answered my questions. It made me angry, but it just answered questions for me. But obviously, these ideas don't answer all your questions. As you get older, you should realize that, although a lot of people don't, and they still stay in these black and white, mindsets.
What talk to me more about what it was like being entrenched in the ideology. What was some of the experiences you had in those spaces?
Yeah, so I should say that I wasn't just 15 when I was going through all this. It started at 15, but it lasted probably up until I was about 24 or 25. And what was it like? Well, I spent a lot of that time being pretty angry at the world. I've always loved life, and I still loved life during that time, but it was a very It was a time when I celebrated being angry and encouraged other people to be angry and to fight with people and to tell other people that they were wrong. And if you're hearing something and it's obviously wrong, then you should confront that person in a way that's, you know, actually shame them. So I remember at university and in classes, I would feel a duty and enjoy, you know, shaming people who said something that was a bit politically incorrect or by my very sensitive standards was incorrect, or my dad or my aunt, you know, people like that.